Hi everybody, welcome to Vintage Wanderlust. My name is Kat, and if this is the first time that you're joining us here, welcome. On this channel, I like to talk about all things vintage and all things travel related, and sometimes I even mix them two together, and it's a pretty interesting time. Today, I'm actually going to be doing a video on what's in my vintage handbag. We can't do a lot of travel right now for obvious reasons, and so I figured I would take you on a little tour of the one piece of luggage that almost every girl seems to have, and even back in the day, almost every single girl had whenever she left the house. So, without further ado, here we go. Alright everybody, so this is my vintage handbag. It's made out of a faux leather, and it's tan on one side and a white leather on the other side, and it's got this clasp up at the top, so you can fit a lot of stuff into it. And close it up. It kind of reminds me of a doctor's bag. So we're actually going to be going through it and talking a little bit about what would have been in a 1960s woman's bag and what's in mine, and doing a little bit of a comparison and see what I have inside of my bag that they probably wouldn't have had inside of theirs. But because these are modern times, I've decided that these aren't things that I'm willing to do away with just for aesthetic reasons. So we're gonna dive in. Okay, so object number one that a vintage lady would have in her handbag would be a pair of beautiful gloves. I like to wear a pair of white kidskin gloves, but these are what women would have in their handbags, and sometimes they would even have a little chain that would attach to the side of their purse that would hold onto their pair of gloves, so they wouldn't have to go directly into the handbag. I'm actually working on getting myself a pair of those soon, so we'll see about that. Next up is this cute little guy. So this guy is made out of red leather and zippered up. He's a dust brush, so that whenever your clothes get dusty or full of cat hair, if you're lucky enough to own a cat, then you can actually just brush that off using this. But what actually makes this pretty interesting is that, let's see if I can actually open it up here. Sewing kit. So up next we have a lovely pair of sunglasses. Some ladies would keep these in their handbags for especially sunny days, and so just recently got these, and they are a beautiful pair of cat eye sunglasses. Up next, we have one of my favorite pieces. This is my comb and brush set. He definitely needs to get cleaned out, but I absolutely love this for brushing on the go. I know that a lot of vintage ladies needed to have some pampering done, going to the powder room and all that, making sure that you looked nice. This is how I make sure that I look nice, because my hair decides that if it's an even remotely windy day, that it should turn itself into a rat's nest, and I'm not about that kind of life, so we're gonna use this for a long time. Keeping in line with pampering, we have this little guy. It's a lovely compact mirror, just so that you can touch up on the go. I just really like that. He's shiny and beautiful. Next in the lineup is this beautiful little thing. Now, I absolutely always need to have perfume in my bag, and I figure a little tiny vial of perfume would be perfect. I actually replaced the perfume inside of this vial with another type of perfume that I prefer, which is by I guess the brand is called Roger and Gallet. They're a French band, but I actually purchased the brand while I was away in China, and they are actually now my favorite brand. They actually had an advertising campaign going in where they had a brick and mortar store, and their brick and mortar store was actually handing out samples of the perfume, but their perfume was being handed out via handkerchiefs that they were, and I absolutely fell in love. I thought that that was such a classy way to display your wares, especially if you're a perfumery. So I always have to have this perfume in my handbag. And women back then also used to have perfume in their handbags, but they would usually use small little vials with droppers that they would put on their wrists and they would put behind their ears, and they would call that bag. So now I'm going to show you guys the trifecta of what a vintage lady would have in her handbag. However, it's only a trifecta because I make it a trifecta now. Usually a vintage lady would only have these two items, but I need a chapstick. So there's this guy right here. This would be my mascara. This is from Lush, and I absolutely love it because it's a natural mascara. The packaging is actually recyclable. You can take it down to Lush and they'll recycle all the packaging. And the color actually looks pretty great on me, and it makes my eyes feel voluminous, so that's one part. Next up we have my lovely little Tom Ford lipstick, and this is in the shade Spanish Pink. This actually has a bit of a story behind it. So my boyfriend actually lives in China. It was around my birthday. He wanted to get me a gift, and he asked me if he could buy me a lipstick. And so I was kind of worried about that because he and I are in a long-distance relationship right now, and so therefore when he asked me that, I said, I don't know if you'll be able to pick a right shade for me all the way over there. He's like, well, my friends recommend this one, this brand, and this color for you. And I didn't end up working out, and then I realized trying to find the perfect shade, I looked through so many different stores, and this actually ended up being the only shade that I actually liked on myself that replaced my old lipstick. So I should have just hunkered down and said yes, but I was actually quite surprised that he picked something that I really liked. Up next would be this DHC lip balm. I really like this because this is one of the only lip balms that actually makes my hand actually hydrated. Everything else dries off on me in 2 seconds, and so I keep this in my handbag for that reason. It's also really slim, so I really like that I don't have to take up that much space in my bag. This is where I actually break out the really nice vintage guns here. So this is a little something that I have in my vintage bag, but I don't use this particular set. This is a manicuring kit. I'm not exactly sure when it's from. It looks to be around the 1940s, 1950s, around there. And you can see how it has a cuticle remover, nail polish, an oily nail polish remover, and some cuticle sticks. It comes in this cute little box. The brand is Lady Lillian, and it's a manicure set in rose. This is not usually what I bring, but I figured that this would be the vintage equivalent of what I bring with me, since I also usually bring a nail file with me wherever I go, in case I'm bored and I just want to file my nails, buff them out. I actually think this next part is probably one of the most important parts of my particular set, and this wouldn't have actually, you know what, it would have a vintage equivalent. So I don't powder my nose. Instead, I'm constantly reapplying sunscreen because sun sensitivity issues, number one, and number two, the sun ages you and 90% of the way your skin ages is due to sun damage. So every single day I apply this, and I try to do it 3 times a day. Usually I only end up getting 2, but I can pretend that I'm a lovely vintage lady, use my compact over there, and instead of powdering my nose, reapply my sunscreen. What's great about this particular sunscreen is that this sunscreen is a Korean sunscreen, and it doesn't leave a horrible white cast, and it feels like nothing on your skin. They have not only an SPF rating on this, which is an SPF 50+, which is as high as you can get in Europe and in Asia, but they also have the PA+++ rating, and that actually measures UVA. In the United States, UVA actually isn't measured. Instead, products that protect against UVA only say broad spectrum, so you have no idea how much UVA damage that causes. So I think that something like this is pretty important. I want to make sure that I'm protected against all of the sun's rays that I can be protected against, and not just UVB, which is what causes sunburn. This really does help out, and I do notice a difference with this. Up next we have this little guy. So this is my camp soap. It comes in sheets, and I really like to have nice clean hands. You can remove 1 sheet, and it's great for a single hand wash, and there are a few in there, so I feel very well protected and very clean having these in my bag. You never know when you're going to touch something gross or just be out and about in the world right now. It's pretty dangerous place. I figure having extra soap on hand isn't going to hurt anything. In keeping with keeping clean, I have my beautiful hand-dyed mask. This here is made out of silk velvet, and it feels absolutely wonderful to wear. It gets washed every single day, and it dries out fairly quickly, and I love this because gray tends to actually go with anything, so I'm quite happy to have this around, and I think that it actually looks quite glamorous when I have it on, so I'm gonna obviously keep wearing that for the time being. Next up is my wallet. Now, back in the day, the wallet would have been a little bit larger, about the size to fit bills, and you'd also have a change purse. I usually also carry a change purse, but for now, I've actually done away with a lot of stuff and only keep the wallet and a few cards in there. Actually, I've recently been trying to pay more so with my phone. I also always have to have a pen on me, just in case there's something to write down. This one happens to have cute little stars on it. There you go. Now, normally this would be a fountain pen, and I have fountain pens. However, I didn't have the time to fill one up today, so instead I just have this one in my bag. He is a beautiful umbrella, a compact umbrella. I really like him. So he's from the 1960s. A family friend actually got him in Germany, and so you pull him out. Well, if you're not clumsy like me, you pull him out and you extend him, and he's a beautiful, I wouldn't say tie-dye, but floral design. I'm actually not gonna take him out all the way, but I figured I'd show you guys just how cool something like that is. Will say this, he is heavy, so sometimes I usually replace him with a mixed regular umbrella / sun umbrella that I got while I was in China. It actually has a UV coating on the underside of the umbrella, And it's a lot lighter weight and a bit more compact than this one, so that's usually what I carry around. But I figured for this video I'd show you guys the vintage version. It also goes with what I'm wearing because I'm wearing a lot of red, so I thought that was kind of neat. So the final piece that I have to show you guys is arguably one of my favorite pieces that I carry around with me, and I actually switched this one up a lot. And this one's a true vintage piece. It would be a hanky. I think that hankies are actually pretty versatile. I hate going out to eat and using paper napkins. I think it's wasteful, and I always just like having one of these offhand. I find them really useful. They're washable and reusable. I think that our environment is something that we should love and protect, and so this is always with me. Not necessarily this one, but one that comes in a matching color. I'm actually probably going to do a how many vintage hankies or how many vintage handbags do I actually have, because this isn't the only one and that's not the only vintage handbag that I have. And that's it for everything I have. I'll give you guys a brief overview of everything. Hey everybody, I hope that you enjoyed touring my vintage everyday luggage, aka my purse. And if you guys want to see more of my vintage collection, if you guys want to see more of what I have to offer, which would include travel related things, everyday vintage, and also just figuring out what we need to do to get by in this crazy world and maintain a vintage lifestyle, feel free to add me here on YouTube by subscribing, and feel free to press that like button, and also feel free to leave a comment if you would like to see something like this again in the future, or if you want to see something brand new, feel free to let me know.